wins, you do the math. You're telling your team, you're not telling them, but you understand players realize, hey, if we go 6-2 these last 8 games.
So is that where you are as a coach? You guys do it in quarters. You just finished, obviously, the halfway poll here. So is that the message now? Obviously, depend. So let's take the message if you're a top team, and then take a message if you're a bottom team.
Yeah, if you're one of those teams with 4 wins, even though it might not look good, you might be 4-4, and you're sitting there and you're trying to look at a team maybe has a 2-game lead in your division. Let's just say the AFC West. You got to look at yourself and say, look, we got 8 games left. Can we win 6 out of 8? If we can do that, we're going to get 10 wins. We might not win a division, but we're probably going to get in the playoffs. So I think a lot of teams are still alive, and that's what you're preaching.
All right, so then I want to start, however, with the story that I teased a moment ago, which involves a team that is definitely not still in it. But it's interesting news. ESPN's Jordan Raanan is reporting that the New York Giants have been given a directive by their ownership. Let me just read this to you instead of trying to talk through it and doing it as badly as I am. There was a directive given several weeks ago by co-owner of the New York Giants, John Mara, to start looking closely at the top college quarterbacks. This occurred around the time it became apparent that the Giants' season was headed nowhere, in part because Odell Beckham was out with a broken ankle. VP of Player Evaluation Mark Ross, who runs the Giants draft, went personally to scout UCLA quarterback Josh Rosen in recent weeks. Rosen is among the nation's top quarterback prospects. Our FPI projects the Giants will have the 4th pick in the draft. The last time they drafted in the top 5 was 2004. That year they got Eli Manning in the draft. Remember, they didn't take him. They drafted and then traded with Rivers and Manning. But whatever, that's how they got Eli, who turns 37 years old in January. So we look at that information. It can just mean they're doing their homework, or it can mean that there is a mind at the top of the organization to at least be ready to consider moving on from the Eli Manning era. What do you guys think?
Well, I mean, I guess I would ask, Herman, it could be a couple of ways. Could be moving on or could be drafting the next guy.
Right.
But Eli's still there, but the transition is going to happen. I mean, I don't know if it means you're getting rid of Eli, or if it's Eli. Does Eli become a bridge?
Right.
Former number 1 quarterback becoming then a bridge to the next guy. I think Eli would still be the quarterback. I would say you know what you have in him. You've built your defense up. You get your weapons back on offense, and you work on your running game, and you see where you can go with this thing.
Well, yeah, this is the conversation you're having. Is Eli the bridge? Now, you drafted Webb last year. Now, I know it wasn't a high pick.
Right, 3rd rounder, Davis Webb.
So if you go down this road, you got to ask yourself that question. Is Eli the bridge, or do we trade Eli to get something for him before the draft? I mean, all these scenarios come into play. It's kind of ironic reading this. That was the scenario for the New York Jets coming into the season, right? They were tanking to get the first pick. Well, that ain't going to happen by any stretch of imagination because they're playing very competitive. So it's kind of interesting. Eli is 37 years old. You're going to have to move on now. Does this magnify it? Is this all on Eli? No, but some of it is as well. I mean, he's not playing great by any stretch of the imagination. So what do you do going into next year? I mean, how do you evaluate this team? That's going to be the whole key. And it starts from the coaching staff and goes all the way down to the players. And that's how it works when you have a season like this. How do you go forward now? And is it we get a new quarterback? What are we going to do? That's up to the organization. It'll be interesting to see how these guys finish up. What direction this organization takes.
I'm wondering, when you're a head coach and you do evaluations, do you give a number to a player coming out in the draft? And if or however you rank him, because that's the one thing I've always said is, well, are they going to take a quarterback, over this guy? I said, well, it depends on the grade. Right. So you have this crop of quarterbacks coming out. You have Eli Manning, and they're saying, look at the quarterbacks. What's the grade minimum you have to be at that says, okay, we'll think about taking this guy, to where if the grade is X or lower, then, well, we're not going to consider that guy, and Eli still is the quarterback?
Well, you grade the players as you grade them, but the board kind of dictates who the best players are. And let's just say a quarterback is in the top 5 of your best players. Are you in need of a quarterback? Most teams are. If that's the case, you're probably going to take the guy, right? Because that's the position, if you get it right, you have a position in need for every team when you don't have that guy. And if he's a good player, you got a 10-year run with the guy if he can stay healthy. Your organization is set in place for a decade. You can say, I've got this quarterback X, good player. If he doesn't get hurt, we are set for the next 10 years. And you feel good about that because now you got the foundation of your organization set already. So if there's a guy there that you deem this is the guy, then you go get him. You don't hesitate.
And then that would create the next question. Eli Manning as a quote-unquote bridge quarterback.
Yes.
Look what happened with his brother in Indianapolis. When Peyton got hurt and understanding the circumstances were different, he was hurt, and it wasn't clear then that he'd ever be able to come back and play at a top level, which he certainly did in Denver. Maybe not the year they won the Super Bowl, but his first year or two in Denver, he was unbelievable. But forgetting that, they made the decision. We took Luck. He's going to be our guy. We're going to move on from Peyton.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything you've done. We love you, but we're moving on. So if you draft, I'm just making this up, now you're the Giants, and you draft Josh Rosen, or you draft Josh Allen, or you draft Baker Mayfield, or you draft one of these guys, do you want to keep Eli there, or do you want to move on from that?
Well, it's interesting you say that. What offense are you going to run when you draft this quarterback? That's critical as well. I mean, is he more mobile? Who are you drafting?
Well, who's the coach? Right now you got an offensive coordinator as the coach who I
Right.
don't think anyone expects to be back there next year.
Well, and that has something to do with it, too. Who is the coach? How are you going to use the guy? Right now, they are built to throw the football. Well, I mean, if everyone's healthy, they banked on, guess what? We're going to throw the football quick. We got a West Coast offense. We're going to run it late in the game when we have leads. But that didn't transpire. Now, so the first thing you got to say, well, okay, we're going to throw it because we have the players to throw it. Do you have an offensive line to protect the quarterback, whoever he may be? If you say we get a more elusive quarterback, does that help you? Yeah, because he doesn't have to sit in the pocket. So all these things become a factor. Look, if Eli is not the bridge, he's still worthy enough to go somewhere, let's just say, Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. That'd be kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. Good running game, great defense, kind of like when they won the Super Bowl, isn't it?
And Tom Coughlin's there.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's right, Tom Coughlin is there. So, is that a factor? That's a factor. I mean, all these things are a factor. All these conversations are talked about. I mean, not whether it happens, we don't know, but he still can play quarterback, but he can't carry the team. That's not who he is anymore. Peyton Manning couldn't carry the team toward the end, but he was smart enough to do the right thing with the ball. He got him in the right play. If you have a team that just needs that, Eli's your guy probably.
And by the way, to answer your question, all the top quarterbacks coming out, again, if Darnold comes out or not, they're more pocket guys. Save for Baker Mayfield. He creates more. Mason Rudolph, big guy. Allen, a big guy in Wyoming. Rosen, big 220. These are all 6'4", 6'5" guys, except for Mayfield. He'd be the one guy. So that's the quarterback coming out this year. These guys are more, they can create some on the run, but they are, for the most part, pocket passers.
But here's the next thing you got to realize. If you go after a young quarterback and you draft him, and you say, we're going to start this guy, what do you look like? Do you look like Cleveland? Okay. Do you look like Chicago? Or do you look like Houston? According to who the guy is, and you don't know that yet. They don't all just walk in there and go by this way. Deshaun Watson, you're the starter now. Oh, last 5 games before he got hurt, they're scoring 35, 40 points a game. Well, Chicago not doing that. Mm-hmm. Cleveland's not doing that. They got a young guy, too. So who's the guy? Andrew Luck inherits a 2-14 team. Okay, what does he do? 11-5, 11-5, 11-5. But they don't all do that. So it's kind of like, okay, we're wishing that, but that might not happen. It might be Jared Goff. Oh, he's a bust after his first. Oh, he's awful. Not so much. He's awful.
That's the question.
He's pretty good.
Giants, are you willing to start over? Are you
There you
willing to
go.
say we're starting over again?
Yeah, you're starting over. You got a defense. 2 years ago, this defense we talked about, wow. This year, obviously not so much. A lot of the same personnel, but they have the parts for a good defense. Offensively, you're going to get Odell back. You get more receivers. You got to work on the running game. I don't think it's completely broken down like the Browns by any sense of the imagination. They have some talent on that team, but you would be starting over with a rookie quarterback.
Will he be as good as Carson Wentz was his first year? Carson Wentz started off 5-2, and then all of a sudden, boop, okay, 7-9. Now all of a sudden, Carson Wentz, last time I checked, he MVP.
Yeah, and a lot
Like,
of these owners are
Right.
seeing Dak Prescott come in, do what he's doing, Deshaun Watson come in, and so some of them expected a little more than they should.
Listen, if you guys, and I know you do, remember Eli Manning, when they put him in there in the middle of his rookie year, he looked like he didn't know which end zone his team was trying to go towards.
Yep.
And he winds up putting together a Hall of Fame career.
That's exactly right.
If you draft a rookie, you're making a deal, basically, with I'm going to be bad for a year or so here.
That's right.
If it doesn't turn out that way, then that's an enormous bonus.
Yes.
But we're willing to live with that for 15 years of Eli Manning, starting every single Sunday,
That's
which
right.
there is a value in, and giving you well